The colony of Kepler-47 had always seemed calm under the stars, a place where humans had built a fragile but thriving life among the metal corridors and glass domes that held their world together. People went about their daily routines, tending laboratories, teaching children, and maintaining the delicate balance that allowed them to survive so far from Earth. But that calm shattered in an instant when the alarms blared, echoing through the station with a sense of absolute urgency. Red lights flashed and warning sirens shook the walls as the massive shadow of an alien fleet appeared in orbit. The ships were enormous, far larger than anything humanity had ever built, and their surfaces glimmered with strange patterns that no human technology could match. Captain Arya Kane sprinted down the corridors with her team, her boots pounding against the metal floors, adrenaline sharpening her senses. She barked orders, directing crew members toward the launch bays where human fighters were hastily preparing to take off. She could feel the fear of those around her, but she also felt the familiar surge of determination that had carried her through countless crises before. The Zifar, the alien race now threatening their colony, had been discussed in reports for years, described as dangerous and highly intelligent, but nothing could have prepared anyone for the sight of their living war machines, glowing and pulsing as if they were breathing. Humanity's sensors tried to read the ship's movements, but they failed, unable to make sense of the patterns that seemed almost alive. Dr. Malik, the station's chief scientist, ran beside Arya, sweat on his brow, his voice tense as he muttered observations that made Arya's stomach tighten. The energy signatures emitted by the alien fleet were unlike anything he had ever seen. They seemed to shift and evolve in response to human activity, almost as if the ships themselves were aware and adapting to every maneuver humanity attempted. Despite the fear and confusion, Arya focused on what she knew best: action. She called to her team, her voice steady despite the chaos, and reminded them that humanity had survived countless impossible situations before. Their technology was weaker, their numbers smaller, but humans had a unique advantage: their creativity, courage, and instinct. As she reached the launch bay, she saw the human fighters lined up, engines roaring to life, the crew moving with the trained precision of people who had faced danger before. She took a deep breath, scanning the enemy fleet and feeling the weight of the task ahead. Every second counted, every choice mattered, and billions depended on their ability to act quickly and think beyond the obvious. As the Zifar ships loomed closer, radiating strange energy pulses and making no sign of slowing, Arya knew that survival would not come from following routines or relying solely on technology. It would come from humanity itself, from the ingenuity, the adaptability, and the sheer determination that had allowed her species to endure against impossible odds. With that thought, she climbed into her fighter, strapped herself in, and prepared to face the unimaginable threat, ready to fight not just with weapons, but with everything that made humans unpredictable, resilient, and strong. The human fleet scrambled into action as the alien threat drew nearer, a wave of small but fast ships weaving through the void like silver swarms against the massive glowing Zifar vessels. Despite their smaller size and lighter weapons, humanity had learned over centuries that cunning and quick thinking often outweighed brute strength, and now every pilot, engineer, and soldier was putting that lesson into practice. Captain Arya Kane gripped the controls of her fighter, her eyes scanning the chaos around her, seeing human ships darting between alien plasma beams and explosions blooming like deadly flowers across space. Her wingman, Jace, followed closely, shouting over the comm about how the alien energy blasts seemed to anticipate their moves, forcing them to dive, twist, and dodge with every ounce of skill they had. Humanity's fighters were being tested like never before, but Arya noticed something in the way the aliens moved. They were precise, efficient, and adaptable, yet there was a rhythm to them, one that could be observed and predicted, if only briefly. Back on the station, Dr. Malik's voice crackled over the comm, urgent but filled with a hint of excitement. He had been studying the Zifar for months, but now, seeing them in action, he realized that their technology was not purely mechanical. It was part biological, alive in ways humans had only begun to understand. Their weapons shifted and changed in response to every human attack, learning faster than any software humanity had created. "Captain Kane," he said, voice tight, "their systems aren't just machines. They adapt to our actions, but human biology adapts too. Faster, smarter. We might just have a chance." Arya felt a spark of hope ignite amidst the panic. Humans were unpredictable in ways the Zifar could not anticipate. Instinct, courage, and improvisation could create chaos in the enemy's carefully tuned patterns. With renewed focus, she led her squadron in daring maneuvers, slashing between alien warships, setting off chain reactions that caused massive explosions in the alien ranks. Human engineers had reconfigured energy shields and weapons mid-flight, throwing the Zyphar systems off balance. And soldiers on the ground used their bodies and minds in ways no alien could calculate. Dodging attacks, improvising defenses, and striking when the enemy was weakest. Every small victory brought relief but also greater danger, as the Zyphar retaliated with incredible speed, their living weapons adjusting to human tactics almost instantly. Arya's fighters shuddered under the impact of a near-miss blast, sparks flying across the cockpit. But she pushed forward, relying on instinct honed over years of training. She felt the rhythm of battle in her veins, the thrill of survival mixed with fear, knowing that one mistake could mean death not just for her, but for countless others depending on her skill. As the fight continued, she realized humanity had a weapon the Zyphar could never fully understand: the ability to think, feel, and act in ways that were chaotic, unpredictable, and creative. Each decision made by a human pilot, each clever tactic devised by a soldier, and each improvisation by an engineer added variables the aliens could not process. The battle raged across the blackness of space, a symphony of explosions, laser fire, and shouting voices. Yet through it all, humanity's spirit shone. Despite the odds, despite the fear, they pressed forward, not with the certainty of overwhelming power, but with the determination to survive, adapt, and strike back in ways that no alien biology could ever fully counter. Arya's hands tightened on the controls and she smiled grimly. Humanity had the edge, not because of superior machines, but because of who they were: unpredictable, resilient, and alive in every sense of the word. As the battle with the Zyphar continued, humanity's strength became clear in ways the aliens could not anticipate. The human fleet moved with a strange combination of coordination and unpredictability. Each pilot improvising maneuvers on the fly, dodging plasma beams and striking back with precise timing, turning the vast emptiness of space into a deadly dance. Captain Arya Kane led her squadron through narrow gaps between alien warships, weaving through the enemy's attacks with skill born from years of experience and instinct. Every human fighter was a blur of movement, engines roaring, weapons firing, as pilots relied not just on technology but on their own senses and quick thinking to survive. On the ground, soldiers faced similar chaos, navigating debris-filled corridors and ambushing alien units with clever traps and strategies that made full use of human adaptability. Engineers worked feverishly, rewiring damaged ships mid-flight, improvising shields and energy pulses that confused the Zyphar systems, creating openings for attacks that seemed impossible a moment before. Dr. Malik watched the battle unfold from the station, his mind racing as he realized that the Zyphar's biological systems, designed to learn and adapt, were being overwhelmed by human unpredictability. Unlike the aliens, who followed patterns dictated by survival instincts and biological programming, humans acted in ways that could not be predicted, their creativity and improvisation disrupting the alien ship's responses at every turn. Arya felt the exhilaration of these moments, the pulse of adrenaline as she darted past exploding enemy vessels, narrowly avoiding energy tendrils that lashed out like living whips. Her team followed her lead, trusting instinct and courage to guide them through the chaos, turning fear into a tool that sharpened their focus. Every explosion, every narrowly avoided blast, and every clever maneuver reinforced a truth humanity had always known. While technology could be copied, calculated, or predicted, human ingenuity could not. The aliens had no way to account for the sudden flashes of brilliance that arose from human minds under pressure. The split-second decisions, the risky attacks, and the daring improvisations that turned desperate situations into victories. Even injuries could not stop them. Enhanced medical nanotech healed wounds quickly, while sheer determination pushed soldiers back into the fight, their bodies responding with strength born of evolution and training. The battle was brutal and relentless, testing every skill and every ounce of courage. But humanity continued to adapt, learning from each encounter faster than the Zyphar could. Arya's squadron executed daring feints, luring alien ships into traps set by ground forces, while engineers created unpredictable energy surges that caused massive feedback in enemy systems. Every plan relied on human creativity, on the capacity to react to new challenges instinctively, and on the willingness to take risks that no alien biology could calculate. Despite the overwhelming odds, humanity did not falter. The combination of rapid adaptation, clever improvisation, and raw courage allowed them to turn what seemed like certain defeat into a battle that was balanced, even tipping slowly in their favor. Arya felt a swell of pride and determination as she maneuvered her fighter through a narrow corridor of wreckage, striking a decisive blow to an alien vessel, watching it spiral into explosions that lit up the darkness. Humanity's edge was not in bigger ships or deadlier weapons, but in the unpredictable, inventive, and relentless spirit that defined them. Against the living machines of the Zyphar, humans fought not only to survive, but to prove that biology and ingenuity, combined with courage and resilience, could overcome even the most fearsome foe, and that the essence of being human was their greatest weapon in a war that seemed hopeless to outsiders. The tide of battle began to shift as humans demonstrated a type of strength the Zyphar could not anticipate, a combination of instinct, creativity, and relentless determination that no biological weapon could fully counter. The alien fleet, once confident and methodical, started to show signs of strain, their attacks becoming less coordinated as human pilots exploited openings with daring maneuvers. Captain Arya Kane felt the change immediately, noticing how even the largest Zyphar warships hesitated, reacting slower to unpredictable moves that split-second human decisions created. Her squadron dove through gaps in the alien lines, firing with precision and drawing attention away from smaller, faster human fighters who struck from unexpected angles. On the ground, soldiers used human adaptability to full advantage, improvising traps, creating diversions, and striking where the enemy least expected it, while engineers continued to modify weapons and shields in real time, producing sudden bursts of energy that disrupted alien systems. Dr. Malik's voice over the comm carried both relief and awe as he observed the unfolding battle. "Captain," he said, "they're designed to adapt, to learn from every attack. But your moves, your unpredictability, it's breaking their pattern. Every human decision, every improvisation, is something they cannot process fast enough." Arya gritted her teeth, feeling the power of those words, knowing that their advantage was not in firepower alone, but in the essence of being human, flexible, inventive, and capable of acts that defied calculation. Yet the cost was high. Jace, her closest wingman, barely ejected from his damaged fighter before it disintegrated in a ball of energy, and the team felt the loss keenly, a reminder that survival demanded risk and courage in equal measure. Even as victory seemed closer, Arya could see the fatigue on the faces of her squadron, on the weary soldiers and engineers who had fought tirelessly, refusing to give in despite exhaustion. Humanity's ability to adapt, however, turned the tide, with each successful maneuver, each clever trap, and each daring strike, weakening the Zyphar's resolve. The aliens' living weapons began to malfunction under the barrage of unpredictable attacks, energy cores overloading, and ships colliding as they struggled to respond to the chaos humans created. Arya's fighter weaved through the wreckage of a once mighty alien cruiser, dodging the last desperate plasma blasts, before delivering a precise strike that sent the ship spiraling into an explosion, its biological systems unable to cope with the sudden assault. Every human action, every instinctive choice became a weapon, proving that the greatest strength was not in machines, but in the living, thinking, and improvising beings at their controls. Dr. Malik's analysis became clearer as he realized the Zyphar's weakness. Their biological systems needed predictability, while humans thrived on chaos and adaptation. Arya's team pressed this advantage, striking hard and fast, forcing the alien fleet into disarray and turning what had seemed like an impossible battle into a contest that humans could win. The combination of courage, ingenuity, and biological resilience allowed them to outmaneuver the enemy, and slowly, the human forces began to dominate the battlefield. Arya felt a surge of pride mixed with determination, knowing that every human action mattered, that every risk taken, every split-second decision, had brought them closer to victory. The Zyphar, despite their overwhelming size and power, could not predict the resourcefulness, adaptability, and relentless spirit of humanity. And as the battle raged, it became clear that humans had found the edge that might finally turn the war in their favor, a testament to their resilience, courage, and the unpredictable brilliance that defined their species. The final confrontation with the Zyphar flagship was the most dangerous moment humanity had ever faced, a battle that would decide not only the fate of the colony, but the survival of countless human lives across the galaxy. Captain Arya Kane led her squadron toward the enormous vessel, its hull pulsating with a strange living energy that seemed aware of every move they made. The sheer size of the ship was terrifying, stretching further than anything humanity had ever seen, and the energy tendrils that lashed out from it like living whips threatened to tear human fighters apart in seconds. Every human pilot was pushed to their limits, weaving through deadly attacks, dodging blasts that could vaporize them instantly, while coordinating strikes that required perfect timing and instinct. On the ground, soldiers prepared for an impossible assault, setting traps and coordinating attacks that complemented the fleet's movements, knowing that every action counted in a battle where even the smallest mistake could cost lives. Engineers modified weapons mid-fight, creating unpredictable surges of energy that struck at the Zyphar systems, forcing the living ship to react in ways it had never faced before. Dr. Malik's voice came over the comm, tense and urgent, as he provided last-minute guidance based on his analysis of the alien biology. "Captain," he warned, "their core is alive. It senses every movement, adapts to every pattern. You'll need to act faster, smarter, and more unpredictably than anything they've encountered." Arya's mind raced, the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders, but she felt the familiar surge of determination that had carried her through countless impossible missions. Her instincts took over as she piloted through the chaos, weaving between energy tendrils and alien defenses, each maneuver calculated yet improvisational, unpredictable, and bold. Her squadron followed her lead, trusting her instinct and skill as they launched a coordinated attack, striking the vessel from multiple angles simultaneously. Explosions rocked the alien ship, lighting up the darkness of space as the Zyphar core struggled to adapt to the barrage. Every human action, every decision, added chaos to the enemy's living systems, overloading the biological networks that governed their weapons and defenses. Jace, though injured from earlier encounters, fought alongside Arya, his skill and courage keeping pace with her maneuvers as they closed in on the heart of the flagship. The tension was unbearable, every second stretching into eternity as they approached the core, energy tendrils whipping past their ships, plasma fire erupting around them. Arya knew there was no room for hesitation. Every movement, every shot, every decision could mean victory or death. With a final daring maneuver, she guided her fighter straight through the core's defenses, firing precisely at the living heart of the ship. A brilliant explosion engulfed the vessel, energy rippling outward as the Zyphar fleet faltered, their systems unable to withstand the chaos humans had created. The massive flagship began to collapse from within, sending shockwaves through the remaining enemy vessels, forcing them to retreat in confusion and fear. Humanity had triumphed, not because of superior technology or overwhelming firepower, but because of unpredictability, courage, and the ability to act in ways that no alien biology could calculate. As the smoke and debris of the battlefield cleared, Arya and her squadron hovered in the void, exhausted but victorious, knowing that they had faced an impossible enemy and emerged alive through instinct, bravery, and the unyielding spirit of being human. The battle had tested every skill, every nerve, and every ounce of courage, and yet humanity had prevailed, proving that their biology, the very thing that might seem fragile to some, was their ultimate strength, a weapon no alien force could fully comprehend or defeat. The aftermath of the battle was quiet but heavy with meaning, as human ships drifted among the wreckage of the Zyphar fleet, the glow of distant stars reflecting off twisted metal and drifting debris. Captain Arya Kane floated in her fighter, staring out at the emptiness, feeling both exhaustion and a profound sense of accomplishment. The human fleet had survived what seemed like an impossible fight, overcoming a foe that no one had truly believed they could defeat. Around her, the sounds of repairs, the chatter of crews, and the careful tending of the wounded reminded her that survival was more than victory in battle. It was the persistence, determination, and resilience of every individual who refused to give up. Dr. Malik's voice came over the comm, calm now but filled with awe. As he explained what had made the difference, it was not just tactics, technology, or firepower, but humanity itself, the unpredictable, inventive, and adaptive qualities that no alien system could calculate or counter. Every split-second decision, every act of courage, every improvisation had combined to overwhelm the Zyphar biological systems, turning the enemy's strength against them and proving that the human body and mind, with all their imperfections and unpredictability, were formidable weapons in their own right. Arya felt a swell of pride as she thought about her squadron, the engineers who had risked everything to keep ships alive in the middle of battle, the soldiers on the ground who had fought with ingenuity and daring, and every human who had contributed to the victory. Humanity had endured because it could adapt, because it could turn fear into determination, chaos into strategy, and instinct into action. Even as they began to chart a course back to the colony, the cost of the battle was clear. Ships were damaged, lives had been lost, and the scars of combat would linger in memory long after the stars had returned to their peaceful glow. Yet in that quiet reflection, Arya understood something profound. Humans survived not because they were flawless or invincible, but because they were resourceful, resilient, and capable of extraordinary courage under impossible circumstances. The Zyphar, despite their advanced biology and living technology, could never fully understand or predict the way humans could think, adapt, and act with both creativity and instinct. Humanity's greatest strength had always been themselves, the combination of body, mind, and spirit that made them unpredictable and unyielding. As Arya guided her fighter through the calm expanse of space, she felt a renewed connection to every human being who had fought, struggled, and endured alongside her, realizing that their victory was as much about perseverance and hope as it was about skill or technology. She allowed herself a small smile, thinking back on the horrors and the triumphs, and whispered quietly, "We survive, we adapt, we endure." The colony below would rebuild, ships would be repaired, and humans would continue to explore, fight, and thrive among the stars, carrying with them the lessons of courage, ingenuity, and resilience that had saved them from extinction. In the end, humanity's biology, the very thing that seemed fragile to some, had proven to be its ultimate strength, a reminder that survival is not always about the strongest weapon or the largest ship, but about the living, breathing, thinking beings who refuse to yield, who take risks, and who rise above impossibility with determination, hope, and the indomitable spirit that defines them. As the stars stretched endlessly ahead, Arya felt the quiet certainty that humans would face whatever came next with the same courage, adaptability, and brilliance that had carried them through the greatest challenge of their lives, leaving a lasting testament to the power of being human in a galaxy that could never fully understand them.